1:43 in the morning, local time, northern Arabian Sea. The American warship moves through black water under full light discipline. No white deck lighting, no unnecessary transmissions, only the dim red glow inside Combat Information Center and the low mechanical hum of a vessel that knows precisely where it sits, even when the ocean around it dissolves into darkness. At the sonar stack, one operator leans forward. Possible transient. Nobody repeats it. Nobody needs to. The contact is weak, barely there, buried beneath layers of ocean noise and the rolling hiss of the ship's own passage. It appears for 2 seconds, then disappears. Not a merchant screw, not random biologics. Something mechanical, something deliberate. The operator adjusts gain, watches, weighs. There it is again. Same bearing, shifted range. This time the sound is cleaner. A narrow band trace slipping just beneath the thermal layer where cold water and warm water divide the sea into invisible walls and sound bends, in ways that can conceal a submarine from anyone not listening carefully enough. On the bridge, the officer of the deck keeps his eyes forward. Low sea state, steady wind, visibility nearly zero beyond the ship's own shadow. On the surface, nothing appears wrong. Below, everything just changed. CIC sonar reacquired possible submerged contact, bearing 086. The report is calm, flat, professional. Inside CIC, heads turn but nobody rushes. This is how real danger enters a warship. Quietly, like a single line of sound on a headset in the middle of the night. The tactical action officer steps toward the display. Classify, too early. The sonar operator reports the contact is intermittent. Slow machinery signature, could be diesel-electric, could be. That phrase sits in the room for less than a second. Then a second operator goes rigid, second transient. A new bearing, farther off the port quarter, not crossing, not random, not surface traffic, 2 possible submerged contacts, 2 separate bearings, both below the layer, both faint enough to remain invisible to anyone careless. Both moving through a section of water where nobody should be this close to an American warship without being known, logged and understood. The tactical action officer does not raise his voice. Rebuild the picture. Passive only, no active. I want trend lines. Across the room, watchstanders begin feeding the contacts into the undersea plot. Bearings, timestamps, estimated movement. Nobody is talking more than necessary now. The air inside CIC changes. Less room in it, less softness. On the bridge, the captain arrives without ceremony. He does not ask what the problem is. He reads it in the posture of the watch team before anyone speaks. Captain on the bridge. The officer of the deck gives a precise update. Possible submerged contacts detected by sonar, sir. Now tracking 2 intermittent contacts. The captain steps to the darkened bridge window, sees nothing but his own ship cutting through black water, then turns slightly toward the sound-powered phone. CIC, Captain. Confirmed 2 intermittent contacts, but with a developing trend. Captain, we are evaluating. That is enough. No alarm sounds, nobody sprints, no dramatic shouting. Just the first invisible tightening of the ship's muscles. The captain issues the order, set enhanced undersea watch. Keep emissions tight. I want maneuvering options ready. Deeper on sonar. The first contact sharpens again, briefly. Blade count unresolved. Machinery noise low, disciplined. Whoever is down there is running with care. The second contact appears 12 seconds later. Different acoustic fingerprint. Similar behavior. That is what matters. 1 submarine can be shadowing. 2 submarines can be building geometry. The undersea plot begins revealing something more dangerous than simple proximity. The starboard contact is not merely paralleling the ship. It is angling inward with small patient corrections, all designed to stay outside easy classification while still closing distance. The port contact is wider, slower, but moving just enough to suggest coordination rather than coincidence. The sonar supervisor studies the board, then makes the call. Sir, they may be shaping. The tactical action officer looks up. Say again, they are not transiting through. Bearings indicate both contacts are adjusting to us. Now the room goes even quieter. A warship can fight what it can see. Aircraft, missiles, fast attack boats on the surface. But submarines are different. Submarines let the ocean do half the killing for them. They hunt from below the horizon, below the light, below the panic. And at 1:49 in the morning, this American warship may have two of them working their way into position at once. The captain is inside CIC now, hands behind his back, voice steady. Assess likely intent. The tactical action officer answers carefully. Unknown at this time, sir, but the movement is not consistent with innocent passage. Nationality not confirmed. The captain nods once. No wasted motion. Assume professional. Assume coordinated. Do not assume they have made a mistake. Aye, sir. On sonar. The operator catches the first truly clean slice of sound all night. A low mechanical whine followed by a brief rhythmic pulse, controlled and compact, enough to raise the hair on the back of his neck. He looks at the supervisor. Sir, that is not civilian. Before the supervisor can respond, the second contact tightens its bearing again. The undersea plot updates. One contact is drawing toward the starboard side, the other is beginning to edge ahead of the ship's projected track. This is not a chase, this is not a shadow, this is a setup. The tactical action officer stares at the geometry for one hard second, then says the words every surface warfare sailor understands immediately. They are building a box. Nobody in CIC moves fast, they move correctly. Course recommendations appear. The aviation detachment is quietly notified. The flight deck crew is told to stand by for possible helicopter operations. Sonar keeps listening. The plot keeps refining. The bridge holds steady for now. Outside, the sea remains black and indifferent. Inside, the ship knows something is down there. Two things, and both are getting closer. At 1:52 in the morning, the sonar operator leans into his headset and speaks without taking his eyes off the trace. CIC sonar. Both contacts just closed again. Recommend immediate threat re-evaluation. The captain examines the updated geometry, then looks at the tactical action officer. No fear, no drama, just decision. And in the cold red light of CIC, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. They are not passing through. They are setting up. 1:52 in the morning, local time. Inside Combat Information Center, the undersea plot updates again. Two submerged contacts, two separate bearings, both tightening. The starboard contact is no longer drifting in and out by chance. Its movement now shows a pattern. Short corrections, controlled speed, deliberate angle changes, all designed to remain outside easy classification while still closing distance. The second contact, wider off the port side, is doing something even more dangerous. It is not racing inward, it is pacing, holding back just enough to shape the battle space ahead of the ship. That is when the American warship stops treating the contacts as suspicious and starts treating them as a hunt. The tactical action officer studies the geometry for 3 silent seconds. Update closest point of approach. A watchstander answers immediately. If current trends hold, the starboard contact passes inside dangerous torpedo bearing. Port contact moves ahead of track in under 9 minutes. The tactical action officer does not look away from the screen. So one applies pressure, the other closes the gate. Nobody argues. On the bridge, the captain receives the update through the sound-powered circuit. He stands in darkness, one hand resting lightly on the edge of the chart table, eyes fixed forward into a sea that gives nothing back. Helm, come right 5 degrees. Aye, sir, right 5 degrees. The ship begins a subtle turn, not enough to signal alarm, enough to test the contacts. Down in sonar, the reaction is immediate, starboard contact adjusting. Now that matters more than anything else. A whale does not do that. A drifting civilian submersible does not do that. Random undersea traffic does not mirror a course correction in the middle of the night. The second contact responds 20 seconds later. Smaller correction, slower, but just as deliberate. The captain hears the report and gives no visible reaction, but the ship has its answer now. They are being tracked. Inside CIC, the sonar team begins pulling harder on every thread available. Machinery, rhythm, shaft harmonics, transient sounds. The first contact carries the soft, disciplined acoustic profile of a diesel-electric submarine running carefully on battery or at extremely controlled power settings. The second is similar but not identical. Slight variation in tonal spacing. different enough to suggest two separate hull types, similar enough to suggest the same family, the same doctrine, the same mission. The sonar supervisor makes the call. Probable military, probable submarine contacts, 2 units. Nationality, the tactical action officer asks. Not confirmed, but the profile is consistent with regional diesel boats. That is as far as he goes. No speculation, no dramatic guesswork, only what the ocean is giving back. At 1:55, the captain enters CIC. Everyone senses it before the report sharpens. Captain, both contacts are maneuvering in response to own ship movements. Assessment is coordinated submerged shadowing, possibly positioning for attack geometry. The captain studies the screen. Red-lit faces, quiet voices, bearing lines converging into a shape no surface warfare officer ever mistakes for harmless traffic. Launch recommendation: the air detachment officer is already on circuit. The helicopter can be turning in under 3 minutes. Captain, make it happen. Above them on the flight deck, the ship remains nearly blacked out. Only filtered deck lighting cuts through the darkness. Sailors move low and fast around the MH-60R Seahawk. Their wands dimmed, their voices swallowed by rotor wash as the aircraft comes alive and the blades begin turning. The helicopter is not launching into a scene. It is launching into absence, empty black water, no horizon, no visible target, only coordinates, bearings, and the knowledge that somewhere beneath the surface, 2 submarines are working their way into position. Back in CIC, the ship makes a second maneuver. Helm steady on new course, engines up 5 knots. The destroyer surges forward, the contacts react. The starboard submarine angles inward slightly, trying to preserve its relative position. The port boat slows just enough to stay ahead of the American ship's projected path rather than fall behind it. It is a patient move, a professional one. The tactical action officer says it flatly. They are not just following, they are solving. That is the moment the room hardens. Because a submarine solving the geometry is not observing. It is building options. At 1:58, the Seahawk lifts off. The deck crew disappears below as the helicopter pitches forward over the water and vanishes almost immediately into the night. Inside the aircraft, 2 pilots and a sensor operator are already tied into the ship's tactical picture. They do not need to see the submarines. They need to help trap them acoustically. Sonobuoys are prepped, dipping sonar checklist complete. Weapons status monitored, but the mission for now is localization, not attack. In CIC, a new bearing update flashes. The port contact has now edged farther ahead of the ship's track than before. The captain sees it instantly. If the warship continues on its current heading, it risks sailing toward a submarine that is no longer trying to remain hidden from the fight. It is trying to own the front of it. Recommend further course change, the navigator says. The captain nods once. Do it. The ship alters heading, sharper this time. Sonar listens. There, a brief spike in machinery noise from the forward contact. A small burst of speed, then silence, not panic. Repositioning. The operator looks up from the stack. He is trying to recover the angle. The captain turns slightly toward the tactical action officer. That confirms intent. Aye, sir. Now the warship understands the shape of the threat. One submarine is pressing from the flank to force decisions. The other is trying to cut ahead where a surface ship's course becomes predictable and a torpedo solution becomes cleaner. A surface ship at night can tolerate uncertainty. It cannot tolerate 2 submarines building a firing geometry around it. At 2:01 in the morning, the undersea plot redraws again. The starboard contact is now inside a range bracket nobody in CIC likes. The forward contact has shifted into a position that no longer resembles shadowing at all. It resembles interception. Then sonar delivers the line that changes the tone of the entire ship. Contact Alpha now in dangerously favorable bearing. Recommend assume weapons posture. The captain does not hesitate. Very well, he says, his voice calm, nearly quiet. Now we assume weapons. 2:01 in the morning, local time. Now we assume weapons. The captain's words do not echo inside Combat Information Center. They settle into it. Nobody speaks for a beat. Then the room moves. Not fast, not loudly, correctly. The undersea plot is no longer a question. It is a tactical problem with 2 hostile answers. One submarine is pressing from starboard, holding a bearing that threatens to put the American warship broadside to an underwater shot. The second has moved ahead of the ship's projected track, shaping the front of the battle space like a gate waiting to close. A few minutes ago, the destroyer was trying to understand the contacts. Now it is trying to break them. Above the water, the MH-60R Seahawk races through darkness, its rotors churning humid night air, nose pitched low over a sea that looks like black glass. Inside the cockpit, the crew is already working from the same tactical picture, feeding the ship below. Bearings, trend lines, probable intercept zones. The pilot keeps his eyes outside. The sensor operator keeps his eyes on the mission. Stand by. First buoy pattern. Back in CIC, the captain leans over the undersea display. I want localization. Force them to react. Aye, sir. The Seahawk reaches the first predicted zone and begins the pattern. One sonobuoy drops clean into the dark, then another, then a third, spaced to catch movement beneath the thermal layer. Small splashes disappear instantly behind the aircraft, but their sensors go live the moment they hit the water, listening into depths the ship cannot fully hear from its own position. On the destroyer, the sonar team begins receiving new data. Weak at first, then better. A flicker of sound from Contact Bravo, the forward boat. Machinery noise, brief cavitation, just enough to confirm the submarine has shifted depth or changed speed to recover position after the destroyer's last turn. The tactical action officer sees the update and says it quietly. He felt the move. That matters. The American warship does not need the submarines to panic. It only needs them to keep adjusting. Every adjustment leaves a fingerprint, a new bearing, a momentary noise spike, a clue about depth, course, and intent. The destroyer comes left again, sharper this time. Not a wild, evasive turn. Controlled, deliberate, measured in degrees and seconds. The kind of maneuver that tells the adversary the captain is not trying to run. He is redrawing the geometry. Sonar calls it instantly. Starboard contact correcting. Forward contact slowing, holding. Now moving again. The picture sharpens. One submarine is trying to preserve pressure off the ship's flank. The other is trying not to lose the bow position it spent the last 10 minutes building. Together they are still dangerous, but now they are reacting instead of dictating. That is the shift. At 2:04, the Seahawk drops its second pattern farther ahead and lower along the destroyer's new axis. This time the sensor operator gets a cleaner return. There, possible submerged contact crossing left to right, deeper than expected. That is Contact Bravo. The forward submarine has pushed harder beneath the layer, trying to use colder water to bend sound, shrink its acoustic profile, and disappear just long enough to maintain its position. It is a smart move, a professional one. But it also means something else. It means the submarine knows it has been noticed. Inside CIC, the air grows tighter. Bravo is on defense, the tactical action officer says. He is trying to stay in the fight without exposing himself. The captain does not answer immediately. He watches the bearing lines update once more, then turns to sonar. What about Alpha? The sonar supervisor studies his trace. Still cleaner than Bravo, Captain. Shallower, more disciplined, but working harder now. On cue, Alpha makes a mistake. Not a large one. Not dramatic. Just a brief burst of propulsion noise that lasts barely 2 seconds. A little too much throttle, a little too much urgency. Perhaps the submarine commander realizes the destroyer is sliding out of his preferred attack arc. Perhaps he thinks there is still time to recover it. Either way, the Seahawk hears it, the ship hears it, and Alpha's available space shrinks. Alpha localized tighter, the sensor operator reports from the helicopter. Recommend aggressive prosecution pattern. That recommendation changes the mood immediately. The destroyer is no longer simply avoiding an ambush. It is applying pressure of its own. Approved, the captain says. The Seahawk banks and turns back in, now flying a tighter curve over Alpha's probable track. Another sonobuoy drops, then another. Their overlapping coverage begins stitching together the submarine's hiding space like netting pulled tight across a dark hole in the water. Below, Alpha shifts again. This time the acoustic trace comes with more flow noise, more urgency. He is moving. The tactical action officer taps the undersea plot once. He is losing patience or losing room. The destroyer increases speed again, enough to spoil any firing solution that depends on a steady course and predictable movement. Acoustic decoys are ready. Not deployed yet, only ready. The crew understands the next minutes may determine whether this remains a hunt or becomes an engagement. At 2:08, Bravo attempts one last correction ahead of the ship's track. It almost works. Then the Seahawk's buoy field catches him. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Now both submarines are inside the tactical picture at the same time. Alpha off the flank, pressured and growing louder. Bravo ahead, deeper and more cautious, but no longer invisible. The two submarine squeeze that looked so dangerous 20 minutes ago is beginning to distort under the weight of American coordination. Bridge, Combat Information Center, sonar, aviation. This is what the Americans do better than almost anyone at sea. Not noise, not bravado. Integration. Alpha turns first, a real turn, not drift, not trimming, a genuine change of intent. The sonar operator hears the stern swing. Water rolls differently over metal. Machinery load shifts. The bearing begins to open. He is breaking out, he says. But Bravo does not. Not yet. Bravo holds. Too long. Long enough for everyone in CIC to understand that one submarine has decided discretion is survival, while the other still believes it can salvage the shot. The captain looks at the forward contact's bearing line on the display. He does not blink. He does not rush. He simply sees the truth of it. One is leaving, he says. The tactical action officer nods once, and one is still trying. Then the sensor operator in the Seahawk hears something through the buoy field that freezes every eye on the tactical picture. A metallic shift. Brief, distinct, internal. Not propulsion, not random noise. The report comes in flat and cold, possible transient from Bravo consistent with tube or door activity. Nobody in CIC breathes deeper. Nobody leans back. The entire ship seems to narrow onto that single line. And in that moment, the night stops being a shadow game. 2:08 in the morning, local time. Possible transient from Bravo consistent with tube or door activity. The report settles into Combat Information Center like a steel weight dropped through the floor. Nobody says what everyone is thinking. They do not need to. On a warship, certain sounds carry only a few meanings, and none of them are good when they come from a submarine already working its way into firing geometry across your bow. The captain's voice stays level. Execute torpedo evasion profile, now. The response is immediate. On the bridge, the helmsman throws the ship into a hard turn. Not reckless, precise. Engines answer a second later, driving more power into the screws as the destroyer claws for speed and changes aspect at the same time. The goal is straightforward. Break the picture, spoil the angle, force the submarine to solve the problem all over again under pressure. Below in CIC, the undersea plot begins moving fast. Bravo is still ahead, deeper than before, trying to hold the front of the battle space where a surface ship's path becomes most predictable. Alpha, the starboard boat that had begun pulling away, is now opening, its bearing drifting farther and farther out. Whatever coordination existed in the two submarine squeeze is coming apart. Bravo is alone now, and that makes it more dangerous. A single submarine commander who senses the window closing can become more aggressive, not less. Deploy decoy package, stand by, the tactical action officer orders. The launcher crews are already there. The destroyer is built for exactly this kind of violence, not because it seeks it, but because it expects it. Every action has a countermeasure. Every geometry has a way to break it. At night in black water, against a diesel boat looking for one clean shot, survival belongs to the ship that can think while moving. The MH-60R Seahawk swings back over Bravo's probable track, now fully committed to prosecution. No more wide passive shaping, no more gentle localization. The helicopter tightens its orbit and begins building a direct acoustic cage, buoy data stacked on top of buoy data. Inside the aircraft, the sensor operator hears Bravo more clearly than at any point during the night. He is deeper but not calm. More flow noise now, more load in the machinery. The sound of a boat trying to preserve a firing solution while the target refuses to stay where it should. Sonar confirms it. Bravo bearing shifting rapidly. He is correcting for our turn. The captain does not take his eyes off the plot. He wants the angle back. Yes, sir. And there it is. The truth of the entire engagement. Bravo is not escaping. He is not observing. He is fighting the geometry, which means the American warship was right to assume weapons. At 2:10, the Seahawk crew drops another tight buoy string directly across Bravo's likely path. The pattern is not random, it is a wall. If the submarine pushes through, it gets louder. If it dives deeper, it risks losing offensive position. If it turns away, the shot dies. For the first time all night, the Americans are not just reacting, they are squeezing back. Contact Bravo increasing speed, the helicopter reports. That is the mistake. Brief, measurable, enough. The acoustic signature blooms just slightly across the buoy field, like a hidden shape stepping too close to a floodlight. Still not a perfect picture. Undersea warfare almost never is. But enough to narrow the box one more time. The tactical action officer points to the plot. He is committing. The destroyer heels into another course change, this one designed to accomplish two things at once. Move the ship off the line Bravo has been trying to hold, and force any fire control solution under the sea to go stale. Course, speed, aspect, noise profile, everything changes together. That is how you survive a submarine that is seconds away from a clean answer. On the flight deck below, in the darkness, launch crews secure gear and brace against the rotor wash from the helicopter overhead. Inside CIC, the only light is red and the only sound is information. Bravo now offset from previous attack bearing. Not enough. Alpha continuing to withdraw. Forget Alpha, stay on Bravo. The captain's voice cuts through the room without rising. No drama, no wasted energy, only focus. Every system on the ship narrows toward the one submarine that still believes it can turn this night into a kill. Then sonar picks up another transient, shorter this time, sharper. A metallic movement inside the hull of Bravo, followed almost immediately by a burst of propulsion correction. The room goes completely still for half a second. The tactical action officer speaks first. He is trying to finalize. The captain answers at once. Challenge him. That order moves through the ship in seconds. The undersea warfare team shifts from pure passive tracking into deliberate pressure, tactical signaling, direct acoustic challenge. A message sent into the water, not with words, but with certainty. You have been found. You are being prosecuted. Your margin is gone. The effect is immediate. Bravo breaks. Not cleanly, not gracefully, but unmistakably. The submarine yaws hard beneath the layer, abandoning the line it had spent the better part of 10 minutes holding ahead of the destroyer's bow. The acoustic picture flares with turn noise and turbulence. Water rushes over hull and control surfaces. Machinery strain rises. The firing geometry that looked so dangerous 2 minutes ago begins tearing apart in real time. He is turning away, the helicopter operator calls. Confirming, sonar says. Bravo bearing opening rapidly. That is the moment the kill box dies. The destroyer is no longer sailing into a submarine's prepared intercept position. The submarine is now fighting simply to get clear of an American ship, an American helicopter, and an American acoustic net that has taken the dark water away from it piece by piece. But the pressure does not stop. The Seahawk stays over him. The destroyer keeps maneuvering. Nobody assumes the threat is finished just because Bravo flinched first. At 2:13, Alpha is effectively gone from the immediate fight, its bearing widening into irrelevance. Bravo remains the only real danger, and even that danger is changing shape. No longer a hunter, not yet prey, but close. The tactical action officer watches the updated plot redraw itself. Minutes ago, 2 submarines had nearly boxed in an American warship in the middle of the night. Now one is withdrawing, and the other has just been forced out of its shot. The captain looks at Bravo's new line and speaks without emotion. We are clear of his solution. Nobody celebrates because they all see the same truth at the same moment. The Americans had survived the kill box. Now they were building one of their own, 2:13 in the morning, local time. The geometry on the screen no longer belongs to the submarines. For the first time since the first faint transient was heard beneath the thermal layer, the American warship is no longer inside someone else's plan. Bravo, the forward submarine that had nearly completed a firing solution across the bow, is now opening bearing fast. Alpha, the boat that had tried to maintain pressure off the starboard side, is fading wider into the dark, no longer part of the immediate fight. The two-submarine squeeze is over, but nobody inside Combat Information Center relaxes because submarines do their best work in the seconds after you think the danger has passed. "Maintain prosecution," the captain says. "Aye, sir." The destroyer holds its speed, not fleeing, not chasing blindly, moving forward with purpose while every system stays locked onto the last submarine, still inside the tactical box. Above, the MH-60R Seahawk keeps circling over Bravo's probable path, feeding back buoy data that now tells a very different story than it did only minutes earlier. More flow noise, more turn noise, more urgency. Bravo is no longer shaping an ambush, it is trying to survive one. Inside the aircraft, the sensor operator adjusts his headset and listens again. The acoustic picture is still imperfect, it always is, but it is good enough to hear a commander under pressure. A boat changing depth, altering course, pushing propulsion just a little too hard for stealth. Every correction solves one problem and creates another. Every attempt to disappear leaves another acoustic scar in the water. On the destroyer, sonar updates the track. Bravo continuing to withdraw, bearing widening, depth variable. The tactical action officer studies the movement. He is trying to break contact through the layer. The captain nods once. Do not let him do it clean. That does not mean recklessness. It means pressure. Constant, professional, disciplined pressure. The kind that convinces a submarine commander he is one bad decision away from becoming the center of an American attack pattern in open water. At 2:15, the Seahawk pushes farther ahead along Bravo's escape line and drops another Sonobuoy pair. The spacing is tight, intentional, not to destroy, to deny comfort, to deny uncertainty, to deny the submarine the one thing it needs most right now. A quiet seam in the ocean to slip through. Bravo turns again. The helicopter hears it instantly, the ship hears it a second later. He rejected the gap, the sensor operator says. Exactly, because he no longer trusts the water in front of him. That is how control works in undersea warfare, not always through explosions, not always through impact, sometimes through narrowing every safe option until the enemy must choose the least humiliating retreat. Alpha is now little more than a fading problem on the outer plot. Whether its commander lost nerve, lost confidence, or simply recognized too late that the Americans had broken the trap, it no longer matters. That submarine is gone from the action. Bravo is not. Bravo is still in it, still trying to survive the consequences of holding too long. At 2:17, the destroyer makes one more measured course adjustment, not to directly pursue the submarine, but to keep the tactical picture honest and prevent any sudden re-entry into a favorable torpedo bearing. The captain is not trying to achieve a dramatic victory, he is making certain the night ends with his ship intact, his crew alive, and the other side forced to remember exactly why American Navy warships are so difficult to kill. The bridge stays dark, sea ice stays cold. The sea outside remains black and unreadable, but beneath that surface, the hierarchy is no longer in question. Bravo speed decreasing, sonar reports. That means the submarine commander has accepted the truth. The shot is gone, the moment is gone, and the Americans are still there. A few seconds later, the Seahawk crew catches another brief but telling change in the buoy field. Bravo is dropping deeper, angling away, no longer attempting to hold any kind of attack line at all. This is not repositioning, this is disengagement. The tactical action officer lets the update settle before he says it. He is done. The captain does not answer immediately. He waits for confirmation. Another bearing update, another depth estimate, another widening line on the screen. Then he gives the order. Continue track. No overextension. Maintain pressure until he clears the area. That is pure United States Navy. No chest pounding, no wasted aggression. The objective was never noise. It was control. And control has now been fully reclaimed. At 2:21, Bravo's acoustic profile weakens as it moves deeper and farther from the buoy field. Not gone, only no longer viable as an immediate threat. The Seahawk remains overhead, long enough to confirm the withdrawal is genuine. The destroyer maintains readiness long enough to confirm this is not a feint. Only when both tracks, Alpha and Bravo, have widened beyond the danger envelope does the room inside CIC begin to breathe again. No cheering, no applause, only small movements, a jaw unclenching, a headset adjusted, a watchstander taking his first full breath in 10 minutes. The captain looks once more at the now open geometry on the screen. No box, no intercept line, no coordinated attack bearing. Only 2 retreating submarines fading back into the dark water they had tried to own. Minutes earlier, they had moved in under darkness, believing the night would protect them. Instead, the night exposed them. The warship holds course. The Seahawk turns back toward the ship. The Arabian Sea swallows the evidence as oceans always do. No wreckage, no missile trails, no fireball for any headline. Only an American warship still moving forward and 2 submarines sent back into the deep with nothing to show for the risk they accepted. That is how nights like this are won. Not through panic, not through noise, through discipline, integration, pressure, and timing. And somewhere below the black water, 2 submarine commanders now understand the same thing. They believed the darkness would make the American warship vulnerable. Instead, it made the United States Navy lethal.